Okay, so I want to take this time to review writing the equations of lines. So as a reminder, point slope form looks like this, where you do y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And the idea here is that it requires a point, which is that x1, y1, that the line goes through, and then the slope of the line, which is m. And what we do with this is if you put, like just for example, let me just put random numbers in here, which is not by any means whatsoever showing you how to use it. I'm just putting random numbers in. But if you get rid of the parentheses, which is what you have to do before you can do anything else. So we distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So 4 times x is 4x. And then 4 times 5 is 20. So this is 4x minus 20. And then I carry down the y minus 3. And then I want to get y alone. So I add 3 to both sides. So y equals 4x minus 17. And that is slope-intercept form because you have the slope right here and the y-intercept right here. So the slope here and the y-intercept there. So slope-intercept form is y equals m x plus b. And the reason, again, that it's called slope-intercept form is because it has the slope and the y-intercept, which is b. And that is always going to be your goal, but as you can see, you can use point slope form as a tool to get you to your goal. So, when you've been asked to write the equation of the line connecting the points -1, -5, and 2, 1, you're going to want to use the tool point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now, this is called point slope form because, again, it requires a point and the slope of the line. And I have 2 points, and I'm going to pick one of them, and you can pick either one of them. So I'm going to pick the one with only positives in it because it's easier to work with. But we need to calculate the slope, which reminds me that the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, the reason that we're doing this video is because I've noticed that some of you have struggled with this concept, so I wanted to make sure to address it. And one of the things that I noticed also when I was grading homework is that there are a few of you who have been putting the x values on top, which is a really common mistake, and the y values on bottom, but it should always be rise, which is up and down, which is our y values, up and down, over run, which is left and right. And so you need to make sure that you're putting the y values on top and the x values on bottom. And I totally understand where that mistake is coming from. Makes sense, but just kind of watch yourself and make sure you're doing that. Otherwise, your slope gets flipped. So you pick a y value, which these are our y values. So I'm going to pick one of them. I'm going to pick the one that's positive. And the slope formula has a minus sign in it. So I'm going to carry the minus. And then the other y value, which is -5, which I'm going to put in parentheses so that I make sure to take care of that correctly, because the formula itself has a built-in minus sign, and I need to make sure to account for that. And then whatever x value goes with the 1 is going to be the x value that goes first, which is 2, minus, and the other x value is -1. Now notice I always write minus before I even look at the other x value because the formula has a minus in it. However, when you do minus a negative, that turns into plus. And so I also noticed that there are a few of you who are adding in your slope formula. And so I wanted to make sure that you saw that that was an issue. Sometimes we do add in our slope formula like we are here, but that's because we had minus negative. So then I have 2 minus negative, which again turns into plus. And so my slope is 6 over 3, which another thing that I've noticed is that some of you are leaving these as fractions. Totally fine, but since people tend to not like fractions very much, it can be kind of nice to write this as a whole number, or to reduce the fraction at least if that's possible. Now 6 divided by 3 is 2, so I may as well write it as 2 because that's a whole lot easier to work with than thinking of it as 6 over 3. So now I have my point and my slope that I'm going to work with. And again, you can choose either point because you have 2 of them. And so our slope formula, or point slope formula, is y minus the y value of the point, which is 1. And there are a few of you who have been switching the order of those around as well, so keep that in mind. And then the slope, which is 2, times x minus the x value of the point, which is 2. Now, remember, we're here, and so what we want to do is we want to work with everything until we get to the point where we have slope-intercept form, which is our ultimate goal. So now, I will distribute this before I can do anything with this because I can't, the parentheses, think of the parentheses as like walls that you can't break down. So 2 times x, and then 2 times negative 2. And then I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to add 1 to both sides to get y alone, and I add 1 to the one that does not have an x. So I get y equals 2x minus 3. And that is your ultimate goal, slope-intercept form. But you're going to use point-slope form to get there. And something I'd like to point out is that several of you have been skipping all of this, and you've been going straight to one of the y values from the points. And you can see that they aren't the y-intercept, so it won't be that value that is here. So a lot of you have noticed that your slope is already there, and you see that, and you've just been using -5 or 1 right here. So I want you to see why that doesn't work. Okay, so we're going to do it again. And so again, we need the point, a point, and the slope of the line. I can use either one of these points. Both of them have a negative in it, so it's probably not going to matter. I'm going to wait a second, and we'll choose the point after we've seen the slope. So remember again that the slope is a y value minus the other y value over the x value that goes with that y value minus that x value. So pick a y value. Doesn't matter which one. So 5. And what I've seen some students do before that I've seen as being kind of useful to them is they write the points above each other, and then it makes it easier for you to see. So 5 minus -1, and then -2 minus 10. So that might help you if you stack the points like that. Then you can see the y values and the x values that go together. And so remember, when you do minus a negative, that turns into plus. So this is 5 plus 1. And -2 minus 10 is kind of like saying -2 plus -10, which is -12. So this is 6 over -12, which again, I could leave if I want to, but honestly, that reduces, 6/12 reduces to 1/2, and I have a negative in there. So my slope is -1/2. It's not going to make a difference which which point you choose for your point in point slope form. Again, you should get the same answer either way. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with -2/5, just because it's the first one. No other reason than that. So point slope form, y minus the y value, which is 5, equals m, which is the slope, times x minus the x value, which is negative 2. Everything that I write in black is basically like an outline that'll always be there no matter what point and what slope you're using. Okay, so before I do any sort of distribution, I am going to take care of x minus negative is x plus 2 so that I make sure that I don't mess up my signs. And then I'm going to distribute. So negative 1/2 x, that's always going to be a very easy distribution because you're just multiplying it by x. And then negative times a positive is negative, and 1/2 times 2 is 1. And then I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. Now there are a few of you who are doing all the algebra stuff right, but you're messing up our negatives. So if I've written that you're doing well with the algebra stuff, just pay very close attention to negative stuff. Okay? So feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Email me, let me know that you're struggling on this concept. Today's question after the video is, I've gone through, you're going to see this, you can look at this in a picture form, but I've gone through and I have started calculating it. So these are the steps that I'm following, and these are the steps you can always follow in this order, but there's a mistake somewhere in here. Something has been done incorrectly. So today's video is about you identifying where that error is, or not video, sorry, today's question is about you identifying which of these steps has an error and explaining where the error is happening.